The big question is, how do employee stock options affect valuations? The founders and the investors both want to make sure there are enough unissued stock options in the pool to attract the talent necessary for company growth. But what percent of the outstanding and unissued stock should be reserved for the employee option pool? This is an important section of the term sheet and should be given special attention while negotiating. Employee option pools generally land between 10 to 20% of the outstanding unissued stock. As a founder, it may seem like optimizing for the largest option pool is the best decision to be able to create attractive stock option plans for your employees. However, the size of the option pool reduces the pre-money valuation, so this is a balance you have to walk. Founders generally want to keep the option pool lower within reason, so closer to the 10%. Investors are interested in larger option pools with the fear that in the future, there won't be enough options for new employees and the founders will have to dilute the existing shareholder shares to create new shares for the pool. That's a mouthful, and I will explain what I mean by this in a bit.
Let's use an example to illustrate. Imagine Company A has a $9 million pre-money valuation with a 10% stock option pool, and the investor is looking to invest $2 million into the company, resulting in a 16.67% ownership stake at a $12 million post-money valuation. If the investor pushes for a 20% option pool, the extra 10% will be deducted from the pre-money valuation, which would then be $8 million. The post-money valuation would then be $11 million, giving the investors a larger ownership stake at 18.18%. Founders typically negotiate the pool in three ways. You can play hardball and fight for a lower option pool, possibly meeting in the middle at 15%. You can simply add the extra 10% to the pre-money valuation, making it $11 million. Or you can add the additional 10% to the company after the deal is done, keeping the pre-money valuation at $10 million and a new post-money valuation at $13 million. Now, let's tie it all together and walk through a complete example of how the employee option pool affects the valuation. Imagine a venture capital group invests $2 million in a company with a $10 million post-money valuation. Prior to the financing, the unissued employee option pool is 10%. This means after the deal closes, the investors will own 20% of the company, $2 million. The previous shareholders will own 70%, $7 million. And the employee option pool will be 10%, $1 million. However, let's look at the case where the VCs push for a 20% employee option pool. After the deal closes, the VCs will own 20%. The previous shareholders will own 60%. And the employee option pool is 20%. In this case, the previous shareholders' ownership gets diluted to make room for the increased option pool. This is the reason investors push for increased option pools. Think about the case in which the founders underestimate the size of the employee option pool necessary to attract the talent they need. Depending on how they negotiate the next round, the founders may need to dilute the shares of the existing shareholders in a future financing round to make room for the increased option pool. In the next round, the diluted investors would include the VCs from the example we just discussed, which wouldn't be ideal for them. As a founder, the best way to guard against this is to have an option pool budget. Here you can list out the hires your team plans to make between now and the next projected financing round. Alongside this, list out the option package you plan to allocate to each employee and then add a few additional options as a contingency if you go over budget.